Hope it's not too long.
Certainty of death, small chance of success. What are we waiting for?
Fellas, I feel this is my lucky day.
Brilliant.
Hey, and welcome to another episode of Rank 'Em. This is going to be a fun one today. We're talking about X-Men characters. But I've got a great panel with me. Over here, we've got Richard. Richard, how's it going?
It's going good. Happy to be part of the X-Men Rankum. X-Men's a fun the Marvel universe, and I enjoy them, and I'm excited to hear what other people's choices are going to pick other than mine.
Moving along, got Kevin. Kevin, how's it going?
It's going well. I appreciate you having me on, and I always love doing Rankum, especially when it comes to a geek topic like X-Men. I'm excited. I got to do the X-Men film series Rankum, so I'm excited to do top 12 X-Men period. So this is going to be awesome.
And moving along, it's his first time on the show. Got Tony. Tony, how's it going?
It's going good. I'm really excited. As a lifelong X-Men fan, it's like, yeah, I'll talk about X-Men for a while. Absolutely.
And last but not least, we got Ryan. Ryan, how's it going?
Oh, I'm doing very good. I'm glad to be back. It's been a while, but I think after the last Rankum, I don't know. I guess it's kind of, I felt like I wanted to do another topic that I could maybe go like maybe 5 to 10 rounds on, and what better topic than this?
Yeah. And for those that are wondering, we're talking about both comics and movie characters. So some characters we bring up you may not have heard of if you've only seen the movies. So just putting it out there because I've have had people ask me that many times about if it's just the movie characters, but it's everything in the X-Men universe. But moving along, how the show works, we're going to take turns and each nominate a character we think belongs on the top 12 list, and then everyone else will say yes or no to it, and if it gets majority of 3 yeses, then it makes the list. And then at the end we rank them, but I'll get more onto that at the end. Richard, what character do you think should be on the list?
I'm going to get this character out of the way. It is Wolverine. When you talk about the TV show, cartoon, movies, this has been pretty much almost everyone's favorite X-Men. Powers, he has the healing, adamantium claws, he can smell really up close and far away. He's had epic storylines in the comics with the Jean Grey Cyclops triangle love story. You also had Old Man Logan. Logan being one of the best movies probably in the Marvel history. And I think this is a pretty easy yes, in my opinion, so Wolverine.
Kevin, what do you think about Wolverine?
Yeah, Wolverine is like Richard said, he's a staple amongst the comics and in the movies. I love his run in pretty much every comic series I can think of that he's been in. Hunt for Wolverine, House of M, Return of Wolverine, all those are great. So this would be an easy yes for me.
Tony, what do you say about Wolverine?
You gotta say yes. I mean, in terms of the overall of all the X-Men characters, in terms of the overall pop culture effect, I mean, pretty much all the X-Men movies could have been called Wolverine movies, guest starring the X-Men. So, and like you said, so many epic storylines from the comics, a rich backstory. It's an easy yes.
And with that, Wolverine does make the list. Ryan, what would you have said?
Well, I mean, obviously he was going to be on here, so I didn't bother, picking him out because I figured if it got to me and he wasn't mentioned, I'm like, what's wrong with all of us? I mean, Wolverine. Even though, this would have been a yes too. He was to be honest, with looking at the history of the X-Men, Wolverine was pretty much kind of like almost a new addition. I mean, he debuted around in the 80s or so with the X-Men comics, but even then his popularity just kept rising, and the multiple depths to his character, his origin has been changed I don't know how many times. First, it was like his claws were mainly strict to his hands. Then they changed it to where it was his entire skeleton. Then into where it was like he's as old as Captain America. Then some, and of course, like the Origins movie, they tried to make it as if he was born in the 1600s. They change it every single time, but what never changes the fact that this man who has this ability to heal, no matter what, it's always his moral character is always like his savage nature that's lived his entire life versus the more, I won't say enlightened, but more trying to be a better version of himself. Like no matter how bloody and how dangerous and tragic his past is, there is that sense in him to always want to be better than who he is. And it's something that's latched on to people. That's why even when Wolverine's removed from the comics, when new characters are brought in, like Laura X-23, or in the Ultimate comics, he had a son who I would have loved to have seen more of, but Ultimate comics, they were kind of hit and miss. Either way, Wolverine's like a great character, so he would have been a hell yes.
But yeah, I would have said yes too. He's the only one I actually haven't have a Funko pop off up here. But I mean, it's one of those ones I knew for sure he was going to make it, and I had to put it on the private chat when Bridget brought it up. But moving on, we've got Kevin. Who's the first one you're going to bring up?
I think I'm going to go ahead and bring up the de facto leader of the X-Men. That would be Scott Summers, Cyclops. He's been around since X-Men #1, and he's been in some great storylines from the Marvel Zombie storylines, the New Exile storyline, the Shadow X storyline, even into the Old Man Logan storyline, and so on and so forth. I love the way that he's been portrayed in the movies. Scott Summers has always been a favorite of mine, so I'll go with Cyclops.
Cyclops is on the table. Tony, what do you say about Cyclops?
Yeah, my absolute favorite X-Men character. He is. I got into X-Men from the '90s cartoon, so and I always loved Cyclops from that. I love that he as a character, like was said, he is essentially the leader. If he's there, he's in charge. That's just the way it is. In the Marvel universe, tactically, outside of Captain America and maybe Reed Richards, probably the most brilliant tactician in the Marvel universe. So, and just so many, I mean, obviously the key roles of from the Phoenix and Dark Phoenix storylines, being such a key character to those storylines with Jean. Yeah, obvious yes.
Ryan, what do you say about Cyclops?
Put him on the list. He's a yes as well. I was definitely introduced to Cyclops through the animated series and then learned about more of him in the comics, him being one of the original X-Men. And then, of course, seeing how he's been mismanaged in the movies. Even then, that has never stopped comic book writers from giving Cyclops his day in the sun. Whether he is like the purebred hero or de facto leader or a Boy Scout. But then when you bring in guys like Chris Claremont and Josh Whedon, they give him more. They show that he's also flawed as a human being. Him, like in his relation, developing a love triangle with Emma Frost, the complicated history he has that with Cable. I mean, the complicated parentage lineage that leads to Cable, and also with Mr. Sinister as a villain being obsessed with the Summers bloodline, and not to mention his dad. The fact he gets his power, the fact that his dad is a pirate leader in space. I mean, like it, whether people know it or not, Scott Summers next to Wolverine has one of the weirdest and most bizarre, he has one of the most bizarre life in comics. And then I did like when they made him a bit like Magneto after the Phoenix Five, like after Avengers vs. X-Men, to where he not like more gave up, but realized being the leader was pointless. It gave more depth to his character. So when he inevitably comes back as the good guy, we'll have so many range of emotions and states of his character to go through. So he's a yes.
But yeah, like for me, Cyclops is it's going to be I'm actually going to go a slight no for Cyclops. I do like the character, and like this might be a hot take, but I personally think it was done better in the recent versions of the movies, even though the movies aren't that great. But to me, he's always been one of those ones that I've never resonated with. He's just. But I mean, I like his powers, but that's about it. But Richard, what would you have said about Cyclops?
For just the position as being a leader and just he's pretty iconic, I would say yes. However, I do find Cyclops very boring. He's a very bland character. The only thing that makes him interesting is his interactions with Wolverine. He's really good, though. I really like him, though, even though he's kind of boring. Like, there's really nothing special about him other than him being the leader. That's all he's really known for. But yes, I would say for that, yes, because he is the leader of the X-Men. You have to have him on this list.
But with that, Tony, what is your first nomination?
Okay. And again, the X-Men franchise has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to characters. But there are some that it's like, let's just get these obvious ones out of the way. And Magneto. One of, if not the greatest villain in all of comics. Such an iconic backstory that the fact is the comics can't change it. They cannot change it. So they come up with weird ways to make him 150 years old or whatever, so that his comic book's backstory still makes sense. So, and frankly, being able to control metal, that is a badass power. But, and again, it's another, to me, obvious yes, but Magneto, absolutely.
Ryan, what do you say about Magneto?
This is kind of a difficult one, honestly. I mean, I do want to say yes to Magneto. It's just that kind of like mirroring off of Richard's little thing with Cyclops, I kind of feel the same way towards of Magneto, to where even though you understand completely where his character is coming from, but every story arc, either it be comics, animation, movies, it's always been the same, to where it itself gets very bland unless you add new depths to it. The only time he was interesting after the movies, the only time he became interesting to me was in the short-lived X-Men and the Wolverine comics, to where he was running Genosha and he had 3 children to look after. And while he was still the same, mutant supremacy, or, mutant, as long as mutants remain on top, to see him trying to balance being a loving father to Polaris, Wanda, but at the same time use Quicksilver as his right hand his instrument of destruction or of discord. I did like to see him try to hide certain sides of himself. But other than that, it always reverts back to my past and atrocities influences my future. And I'm not going to disregard that. It's just I've not seen nobody try to add something new to him. So I think for right now, I may be the only one who's going to say no to Magneto. Any other day, I'd say yes. But for today, I'm going to say no.
Yeah, for me, Magneto is a tough one. For that same reason, like I like the character, and Ian McKellen and Michael Fassbender both did great jobs playing this in the movies. But to me, this is a great character, and I really like the villain. And I think so. I am going to say yes to this one. I don't think it's the best villain in the X-Men canon, but he's definitely up there. Richard, what do you say about Magneto?
He is 100% the best X-Men villain. He has such a heartbreaking backstory. He survived the Holocaust. His storylines between Scarlet, Quicksilver, storylines between him and Professor X, him and Wolverine. The fact that his character has grown from just hating just normal humans to, kind of siding with Professor X, kind of working together. And he was the only redeemable thing in X-Men Apocalypse. He's a hard yes for me. Like, his backstory, his present story, he is the all-around probably best X-Men villain that there is right now.
And with that, Magneto does make the list. Kevin, what would you have said about Magneto?
I was actually more on the side with Ryan. I like Magneto. Don't get me wrong. I think he's a fantastic character, and I agree with you, Malcolm. Ian McKellen and Fassbender have done a great job portraying him on the screen. But he seems to be a lot more empowering and a lot more interesting when he's surrounded by, say, the Brotherhood or the Acolytes or the Horsemen. So when you put other people around him, he seems to be a lot more uplifted. And so I'm trying to look at this from a more individual standpoint. So I would have given it a no, but I'm not mad that he made the list.
Yeah, me neither.
Ryan, what is your first nomination?
I'm just gonna jump off the gate with this one. I'm gonna go with Aurora Monroe, and that is Storm. For me, and I'm adding this one for personal reasons, because for me, growing up, getting into comics and into the course comic book movies in general, it wasn't important to me at that moment. But the moment I first saw Halle Berry as Storm in X-Men, I gravitated to her because she was someone who looked like me. Because I got to see representation on screen. I didn't know it then, but looking back now, I was definitely a big defender of Halle Berry in the movies. I was defending her among so many people, even though they said that even when they had legitimate criticisms, I defended her because I was behind that representation. But then when I studied and researched and read Storm's arc in comics, she is without one of the most resilient characters I've ever seen. Someone who grew up street rat, her ability to manipulate the weather and on a planetary level where she's worshipped as a god. She leaves all that behind in her own country, where she could have stayed in a village being worshipped as a god for the rest of her life. She chose to leave that behind to try to protect humanity. And even then in comics, she is, and no matter what medium, she is seen almost as trustworthy to be the leader of the X-Men, or even, no matter how bad The Last Stand was, what I did like was at the end, you get to see at least a glimpse of her running the school. And I'm going to nominate her. And also, just like with her character, she's also in other alternate futures. She's had a relationship, she's had a romance with Wolverine, Scott Summers, like her, and even of course now with the MCU during the time of Black Panther. What was the one character everyone wanted to see? Storm. They wanted to see her as one of the bridges to introduce the X-Men into the universe. So I'm going to nominate Storm.
But Ryan, before I go on, do you know what happens to a toad when it's struck by lightning?
Oh, come on, man! When you're 7, it sounds badass. But of course, it's corny when you're older.
I mean, I actually like the line. It's an easy yes for me for Storm. I've always loved Storm as a character because, I mean, while I've never actually watched the original X-Men animated series, I'm more familiar with X-Men Evolution, and I really like her arc there. And after watching a few episodes of, so now that on Disney Plus, I've seen a few episodes of the original X-Men animated series. Evolution's the better series. But that being said, that being said, like really bring the movies, comics, like Storm's always been one of those characters that in my opinion, I think should have been the one to lead the X-Men team a lot more than what she actually did. Because while I do like Cyclops as a leader, I think Storm is the one that quite often ended up saving the team a lot. If we're being honest, yeah. I mean, I don't know whether she's the better weather-based character in the comics universe. I think Weather Wizard's slightly better from DC, but we're not here to talk about DC anyway. Richard, what do you say about Storm?
This is gonna be a hot take. I'm saying no. For powers wise, if she didn't have those powers, she would be kind of very useless. She doesn't really stand out as much. Her story wise, like they put her in a relationship with Black Panther. They put her in a relationship with Wolverine because they really had nothing really much to do with her. Like, there's never been great storylines with her. I mean, I like her powers. I had her on my list. I'm just not a fan of Storm. I just always felt like she was just there and never made that much of an impact other than her powers. So it's a hot take for me.
Kevin, what do you say about Storm? Yeah, Storm has always been one of those kind of like Cyclops to me, from the 90s show, that has always just really jumped out to me, encapsulated like what the X-Men are, how she kind of takes control when things get kind of gloomy or whatever, but also in her comic book past, she's got she's got magical potential. She's got a lot of her power and stuff, goes through the weather, the control, I think is awesome, and just the way she looks is just badass. So I'm gonna give it a yes. I say Storm gets a yes. Storm does make the list. Tony, what would you have said about Storm?
Storm was an easy yes for me. She ends up becoming almost the moral compass for the X-Men as the comics go on. If when you get first off, in terms of her, she has obviously those awesome powers, but she's pretty badass without those powers, to the point where she fought Cyclops in the comics without powers and beat him. So she's pretty badass. But as the comics go on and Cyclops is starting to make that turn towards a darker road, pretty much he says, when he pretty much Cyclops creates the extinction team of just heavy hitters to handle extinction level events, he tells Storm, I need you on this team to keep them on the right path. So yeah, Storm is an awesome character, and I certainly agree with everything that Ryan had said about the representation. I mean, obviously that had to be very important to young Black people. So obviously, easy yes to me.
Yep. But for my first nomination, I'm going to do this.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!
But yeah, I'm obviously talking about Shadowcat.
I'm gonna be honest, I got nothing on my end, so I did not know what you guys are reacting to.
Oh.
The X-Men Last Stand. I'm a Juggernaut, bitch.
Okay. Okay.
But yeah, the other one might come up later. But I am talking about Shadowcat for this one. I just thought I'd play that now. It'd be too for everyone off the scent. But anyway, I really enjoy Shadowcat in the movies and the comics. Like, while she's got some of the simplistic powers of going through walls and all that, like her arc in the comics has been really good. Like,
I don't remember which X-Men team was the leader of. I know she was the leader of one of them, but like she was really pivotal in the Days of Future Past comic event. Like maybe not so much in the movies, although she was important in the movie version of that. And Elliot Page, I think, did a great job of portraying the character. And yes, and also I really like Shadowcat's dragon she has in the thing. I think it's Lockheed or whatever the name is. But Richard, what do you say about Shadowcat?
It will be a no from me. I feel like there are other X-Men characters that have to be on this list before her. I like the character. She's very forgetful. Like even in the movies, the original movies, they recast her 3 times. Like every of the original movies, it was a different actress playing Shadowcat. And like I liked her storyline with Star-Lord and Colossus when they had those relationships, but otherwise, like I just don't think she's an important X-Men character enough right now.
Kevin, what do you say about Shadowcat?
Yeah, there was I love it. I love the character in the movies, but there was a miniseries in the comics 84, 85, Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, where she's possessed by a demon, and her and Wolverine develop this teacher-student bond, and that is a really great series. That alone, to me, kind of puts her on the map as being one of my favorites. Top 12 worthy is right. I had her on my list, so I'm inclined to say yes. I think I'm going to go ahead and give it a yes, just because I did like the portrayal in the films as well. So yes, I'll give it a yes.
Tony, what do you say about Shadowcat?
Yeah, in the comics, she's phased a giant freaking bullet through the planet. She's freaking awesome. I mean, and such a pivotal character in the Claremont days. Just giving you a point of view character for the readers to coming into the team. And I mean, Joss Whedon even said that character was the basis for Buffy. She's a great character. She's grown. Unlike most characters in comics, she's actually grown up a bit. So, I mean, she has genius level intellect. And in that comic series, the Kitty Pryde and Wolverine, she becomes a ninja. Who doesn't like ninjas? Seriously. So, yes.
And if that Shadowcat does make the list, what would you have said?
Damn, she would have been a tough choice for me because I only like when I did my research on Shadowcat, seeing how she was very instrumental during the Claremont run, but then afterwards, there was this time where she was only defined by her relationship with Colossus, and that really didn't help her when I came to trying to put her on my list. And I do agree with Richard. The fact that she was recasted 3 times in the X-Men films before they settled on Elliot Page was kind of bothersome. I mean, Bryan Singer had control of those 2 movies, and he just kept teasing her throughout that time. Now, maybe in hindsight, he did have a certain storyline for her. It didn't work. And even at the same time, many people even critics have said Rogue and Wolverine's relationship was pretty much a mirror of Shadowcat and Wolverine. So that definitely led more points on that. And then also later on in the comics, when they killed off Wolverine, they finally brought him back. They showed that it was Shadowcat who used her phasing abilities to get Wolverine out of that adamantium encased shell that he was in. So balancing these positives and negatives out, positives definitely beat the negatives. So I would have given a yes to Shadowcat.
And one thing I found out recently is the character of Shadowcat was engaged to Star-Lord at one stage in the comics.
Yeah, before they rebooted before Marvel did their 30th reboots.
But Richard, what is the next character you're going to bring up?
All right, this is probably going to be a no, but I really love this X-Men character. This is probably my second favorite X-Men character. I'm going with Nightcrawler. I really enjoy Nightcrawler. Just I love his backstory. The fact that when Mystique's his mom, he gave him away as a child. I love during the aspect of humans hating the X-Men, hating mutants in general. Nightcrawler being super religious, trying to keep the peace, trying to keep his religion, his faith inside of him the whole time. His powers are super cool. I mean, teleporting may seem boring, but the way he uses it in the comics and the movies, that X-Men X2, that fight scene in the Presidential Hall was probably the best action fight scene of all time. I think Alan Cummings did a great job as Nightcrawler. He was really fun in X-Men Evolution. He had a small role in the original X-Men cartoon. This is probably going to be a no because I do think there are other X-Men before him, but I like Nightcrawler a lot, and I just think he should be mentioned right now.
Kevin, what do you say about Nightcrawler?
I actually had him on my list. I mean, I think Nightcrawler is an enigma, to say the least. I mean, he's religious, but he looks like a demon. He's loyal and a beloved teammate, but he's been treated like a freak his entire life. But he finds a family, a home with the X-Men, and he lays his life on the line to save anyone that he does call a friend. So that, you know, Kurt Wagner is kind of what it means to be an X-Man. So I think I'm going to say yes to Nightcrawler.
Tony, what do you say about Nightcrawler? Yeah, Nightcrawler's a yes for me. He's such a conflicted character in terms of, you know, like you said, he's the religious guy who looks like a demon. He uses a kind of swashbuckling attitude to kind of mask his own insecurities and self-doubt. And to piggyback on what Richard said, yeah, that scene in X2 is, especially considering that was well before the MCU and everything, that scene just kicked ass.
Yeah.
And yeah, Nightcrawler is yes for me.
Ryan, what do you say about Nightcrawler?
He's a yes as well. And my reason for Nightcrawler was that Nightcrawler is most likely, not most likely, but he is one of the prime examples when it comes with, you know, that famous line that in the movies, mutation, you know, happens once every generation. But when you look up the phrase of mutant or in the word mutation, you always get the same thing. Like it's a change, a deformity that happens in the system that happens. And right now, while most of the favorite X-Men characters that exist out there, they look like regular people but have extraordinary abilities. Nightcrawler, along with some of the other X-Men characters out of the hundreds, is one of the few who is actually mutated to where he doesn't look like a normal person, to where he is going to be flat out judged on his appearance, no matter who he is. I mean, especially you all mentioned the religion that he's built on. But at the same time, he is a morally strong character and a good-hearted person. But because of what he looks like, everyone, including people who are religious, are going to immediately judge him. And even sometimes in the mutant community as well. While some mutants are afraid of their own abilities, there are some mutants out there that hate their own kind, to where sometimes even when they look harkening back to the X-Men Evolution series, when they first met Rogue, I mean, Nightcrawler had to have a watch to make him look more human. So when it got broken and Rogue saw him for the first time, she freaked out. It just represents that no matter how much he tries to fit in, how normal he wants to present himself, it's always going to be his blue skin, his tail, and his yellow eyes, and his pointed ears. It's always going to make him look judged and hated. And it does lead to that sometimes a crisis of confidence, a crisis of conscience, and self-doubt in him. But he continues to persist to where he's even had some fun adventures with Wolverine, Shadowcat, with some of the others out there. And I would be crazy not to want him on this list.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool. I really like as a character. I think he's fun, and it's and like the X2 scene alone is a really kick-ass scene, and it's going
Do
to
you
be
mean
interesting.
Nightcrawler, not Deadpool?
Did I say Deadpool? I meant
You accidentally said Deadpool.
Yeah.
But anyway, Nightcrawler was fun. I would have said yes anyway. He's on the list. Kevin, what is your next character going to bring up?
Mine is going to be probably the first one that is an actual off the wall one, but it is a favorite of mine from the 90s animated series. It is the card throwing Gambit. He is Remy LeBeau. He has foresight via tarot cards. The kinetic energy manipulation isn't really just through his cards. You can really do that through anything, as you see in the comics, and as well, I think a little bit through the series. But thermal manipulation, space-time manipulation, and energy physiology. But no, I love Gambit. I love his kind of smart-ass attitude. He's really quippy. I like how he kind of started off as a bad guy in Mutant Massacre. He went to Mr. Sinister for help, but in Divided We Stand, he saves Xavier, and from there on out, he's right there with the X-Men. So yeah, I'm throwing Gambit out there like a playing card.
Tony, what do you say about Gambit?
Yeah, this. I mean, he's certainly a popular one. I'm gonna say no on this one for me. To me, and again, this is just to me. He's always seems a little more one note to me, and I never really connected to him the way I've connected to other X-Men characters. I mean, the character has potential, and certainly has some like good arcs in terms of kind of reconciling his past with Sinister. But yeah, he's for me, he's a no.
Ryan, what do you say about Gambit?
He's one of the hardest. This is another tough choice as well. And I like what Gambit kind of represents in his early life. He's kind of like a moral of within the mutants. Of course, we learned through Gambit there's other societies out there that are that some of them have the similar line of thing, Magneto, but instead of trying to bring like mutant supremacy, they're all for themselves. They want to obtain power, kind of like the Hellfire Club, and there's some others out there that kind of do what Gambit, they're kind of like mercenaries where they'll take work from whoever offers the money to them. They don't care about whose goals they're trying to achieve. They're just doing the job to get it done. And I like that with Gambit, that even he sooner or later has a crisis of conscience to where he has to pick a side. Now, of course, most of his choices of joining the X-Men because of Rogue, and almost comics would portray it. But even when you do backstory on him, try to research, you do see that even though he's more kind of like a Han Solo, less of a scoundrel, he does have a bit of a conscience at times. But also it's revealed he's an Omega level mutant, and we have yet to at least see his full potential to be unleashed. It's been in pockets. But man, I guess when it comes down to it, I mainly have to rely on the 90s animation series for my love of Gambit. The movies really have not given us an opportunity. I mean, of course, I'm not going to blame Taylor Kitsch. Definitely not holding that against him. He did his best what he was given. But it's really hard. It's so difficult. I want to put him on this list, but then at the same time, I know I want to nominate some other characters on here. Yeah. You know what? No, I'm gonna risk it. I'm gonna say yes to Gambit.
Yeah, this is easy for me. It's a no. I like Gambit fine, but they've never got Sawyer from Lost to play Gambit yet. So until they do, I'm saying no. um, Kevin Feige, if you're listening, we want Josh Holloway as Gambit in the MCU. Thank you. But I think that's 2 yeses, 2 no's so far.
Mm-hmm.
So Richard, it's on
Yes.
you. Does Gambit make the list?
First of all, Channing Tatum will be playing Gambit. I still want to see that. I don't know what you're talking about, whoever you want to play, but Channing Tatum's going to be Gambit. I like
By
Gambit,
2030.
but he's kind of a one-trick pony. He either throws his cards or he hits people with staffs. There are more important X-Men characters that have to be on here before him, so it is a no, unfortunately, for me, but I really do like Gambit, though.
Fair enough.
But Tony, what is the next character you're going to bring up?
I think next character I'm going to bring up, I would say, is the X-Man himself, Charles Xavier. I think that his first off, between Patrick Stewart and James McAvoy, pretty much one of the bright spots in terms of character performances in the movie franchise. And he, as a character, when you look back, you kind of, he's initially portrayed as this saintly, just want to do right. But when you dig deeper and as it goes on in the comics, he's kind of shitty in terms of very morally ambiguous, a moral ambiguity that isn't initially on the surface. And I like that from his dealings as part of the Marvel Comics Illuminati. Pretty much the betrayal of Scott in terms of the Third Summers Brother comic. Not that storyline actually went where it should have, but that's a whole fucking story. But he is a very flawed saint. And I really think that he deserves to be on this list. So yeah.
Ryan, what do you say about Professor X?
Yeah, Tony covered a lot of bases on Professor X. Yeah, I do like how throughout majority of, at least in pop culture, he's seen as the yang to Magneto's yang, honestly, like the pure balance between the two characters. But yeah, when you start reading comics, you do see that just like Magneto, Charles is also a very complicated person. And at the same time, seeing how, and it was recently with the House of X and Powers of X storyline with Moira McTaggart, we do see from an outside perspective of Charles Xavier as a young man. I mean, it's even though it's through her narration, you do see that someone who has the ability to rehear other people's thoughts, know exactly what they're thinking. I mean, yeah, you would of course believe that you'd have the answers to everything. You'd believe, of course, because you look normal, even though you're a mutant, you accept as part of yourself. You'd want to believe that you're capable of being a better person, or you almost think you're superior in a way. And yeah, at some of the other one-off stories that was written, like with the character of X-Man, where Scott learns that Charles wiped the memory of one of the most powerful mutant in the world into amnesia, and then when he starts to remember, he starts laying havoc. And the only way to save him was for Charles to once again wipe his memory. And then also, let's talk with his son Legion. The fact that Charles had a son, and unfortunately he has developed multiple personalities, and Charles can't help the kid. To the fact to where the kid thought the best way to save the world, or at least to free himself or free the world from its existence, well, actually not to kill was I mean, kill Magneto, but Charles still stepped in his way to save somebody. I mean, you do see that with Legion, there is a complicated relationship there. And then, yeah, let's not talk about the constant storyline in the movies, not the comics, the movies. The movies try to make Jean becoming a bad guy. It's all because Charles is suppressing her abilities. But in the animated series, with X-Men and Wolverine, they made it a little better to where Jean was not complicit, but she was cooperative with suppressing her abilities because she knew she couldn't control it. Now, I'm not trying to say this makes up for some of the
Can we make this a yes or no right now? I got things to do.
yeah, I'm sorry. This is me trying to break it in my head, but I'm just gonna give it. Look, we have Magneto on this list. I'm just gonna say yes to Xavier.
But yeah, it's going to be simply a yes to Professor X because I like the character. It was just going to be my next one I was going to bring up anyway, but yeah. Richard, what do you say about Professor X?
Oh, it's an easy yes. He's the reason why the X-Men exist. He's the strongest psychic, has the strongest mind alive. Easy yes.
And Kevin, what do you say about Professor X?
Yeah, I mean, he does have a bit of the guy complex, and he seems to get his crew into a little bit more trouble than they have to save him from. But you know, it is what it is. He's done a lot of really good work in the comics, and I definitely would have put him on the list.
But Ryan, what is your next character you're going to bring up?
All right, I'm going to be quick. I'm going to add another villain onto this list. My next nomination is Mystique. This, just like with Gambit, she also represents a morally gray area out there, even though most of the time she's on the side of the villains. But when you look more into her backstory, her natural blue skin, her yellow eyes, even though she can turn herself into anyone she wants to, she had probably one of the most complicated storylines of learning to accept herself on the outside and the inside. And then also the different alliances she's formed, from Magneto to Apocalypse, to her relationship with Destiny, who the comics finally acknowledge is a gay relationship. So I say yes to that. So before I continue to keep going, this is who I'm nominating: Mystique.
Yeah, Mystique is one of those characters that I definitely had on my list. That I do enjoy. This is an easy yes for me. It's not much more I can say, and I really like what Jennifer Lawrence did with the character. Richard, what do you say about Mystique?
Rebecca Romijn did it better. It's an easy yes. I love her. I love this character. I love her relationship with Rogue and Nightcrawler. And I mean, she's such a strong female character in the X-Men universe. Whether she's a villain or anti-hero, it's a yes.
Kevin, what do you say about Mystique?
Yeah, 100% yes for me. Like Richard said, her relationship with Rogue, Nightcrawler, you know, her own incarnation of the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. She's all over the comics. She's all over the movies. But I do agree with the Rebecca Romijn's statement.
Tony, what do you say about Mystique?
Yeah, she was borderline for me. I mean, she's a great character, and obviously between Rebecca Romijn and Jennifer Lawrence, she's been portrayed well in the movies. I'd probably say no, but I'm certainly not gonna begrudge the fact that she's on the list because she was borderline on mine. But yeah.
But with that, we've got 8 on the list so far, so we've got 4 spots left. My next pick is one that is in the X-Men universe, so it counts as an X-Men character. I am bringing up, of course, Deadpool.
Figured that was coming. Somebody was going to do it.
but yeah, Deadpool is like whether or not it's Ryan Reynolds in the Deadpool movies, X-Men Origins, it's fine. I mean, like he's good until he becomes Deadpool in the movie. um, but yeah, like there's not much more I can say about this character. I'm pretty sure this is going to be an easy one. Richard, what do you say about Deadpool?
It's not fair. It's Deadpool. You know what? I'm going to say no, and only because it's his shtick. It's like he's getting kind of overly overdone now ever since the whole Deadpool movies, Ryan Reynolds thing. I really like the character. I'm looking forward to Deadpool 3. I think what makes Deadpool is he breaks the fourth wall. But if you look closerly, like he is the knockoff Deathstroke. He has Wolverine's powers. He's able to teleport with that little machine. He's really funny. He really is funny. He's probably the funniest character in the X-Men universe, but I just think it's just too easy for me to say yes, so I'm saying no.
Kevin, what do you say about Deadpool?
I can't bring myself to say no. Deadpool's too damn funny.
It's fair. Like,
I mean, I would as much as I want those other 4 spots for other things. Deadpool is hilarious, and I do want to get into more of the comic side of Deadpool, as I haven't yet. But yeah, for movie sake alone, I have to go for yes, Deadpool.
Tony, what do you say about Deadpool?
I mean, in terms of the comics, he certainly qualifies as an X-Men character, but he's only tangentially an X-Men character, so I'm gonna have to say no. Especially, I mean, there's so many like awesome X-Men characters, like strict X-Men characters, that giving Deadpool a spot to me at the exclusion of one of them just doesn't seem right. So, but I certainly love the character.
Yep. Which means, Ryan, it's on you. Does Deadpool make the list?
Wow. Okay.
and you're allowed to monologue because this is Deadpool. You can monologue.
Yeah, but if I was monologuing, Deadpool and me having so many sidebars going, is he ever going to shut up? Tony did bring up a good point that he is X-Men adjacent. But even then, there are so many good X-Men characters in the universe who aren't technically mutants as well. So, I mean, it's not to say that the point you didn't bring up was good. It's a good point, too. But it's not going to be my basis on knocking if I'm going to say yes or no. But he went from a simple villain to a villain introduced in the New Mutant story to becoming one of the most popular heavily meme-contented characters out there, to where he surpassed the X-Men, to where he has his own series. I mean, not just his own comic series, but you saw in the movies that all you need is 2 or 3 X-Men in there, and Deadpool will still eclipse them. So, fuck it. You know what? I mean, shit. Let's do it. Deadpool, yes.
Which means we go back to Richard for the next nomination.
How many do we have left? 3?
3.
3.
All right. I got to go with Rogue. Talking about someone who has a tragic backstory, her powers, she's not allowed to have physically contact with anyone, or they could possibly kill them. She was the reason why Carol Danvers, the original Miss Marvel, was in a coma, lost her powers to eventually become Captain Marvel. Her, like we said before, relationship with Mystique, her relationship with Gambit. She's probably one of the most powerful mutants ever. I mean, she has to deal with the fact that if she touches someone, it could kill them. And she's had some great backstories in the comics, great stories in the original X-Men movies, in the cartoons. I think Anna Paquin did a great job as Rogue, and she's such a strong female character as well. And my nomination is Rogue.
Kevin, what do you say about Rogue?
Yeah, Anna Paquin is basically a watered down version, though, compared to the comic version to me, and even the '90s animated version. Given her all of her physical strength and the ability to remove memories, take away superpowers of anyone she touches. She's basically one of the most powerful and dangerous mutants, with the catch that she can never get close to anyone that she actually loves. The movies kind of missed the mark on that persona right down to her love interest. And so I love Rogue. She was right next on my list. If Richard didn't bring her up, I was going to bring her up. So that's a definite yes for me, Rogue.
Tony, what do you say about Rogue? What do you say about Rogue?
Rogue's another borderline. She's currently not on my main 12, but actually, I'm going to say yes because she really does have a rich backstory and character arc. When she gets to the point when she finally is in the comics able to touch people, she learns to control her powers. It's you're just so it's like you're so happy for it's like finally a good thing happened to her kind of thing. And she went on in the comics to be part of the Avengers when she was originally an Avengers villain, and it's a strong character arc. So yeah, I'll say yes.
Ryan, what would you have said about Rogue?
Rogue would have been a difficult choice for me, but at the same time, Tony did mention that point when she does learn to control abilities. It harkens to with Rogue that just like with Nightcrawler and even with Mystique herself, like the tragedy she shares with Nightcrawler and Mystique. Of course, she looks very normal, but once you see under the surface with her, there's a lot of trauma, emotional and physical trauma with her, to where, harkening to X-Men Evolution, they did a great storyline to where when Rogue touched too many people, their personalities were literally clashing with hers, to where she had to either try to gain control or find a way to release those energies. In a way, she's kind of like a preamble to Legion, because with her ability, she's not just absorbing memory, she's absorbing a person's life work, meaning their emotions, their own thoughts. And yeah, the fact that for years she had to live with the not just tragedy, but the horror of if she ever got physically close to somebody, she could kill them, which led to the mental walls that she had to build up within herself. So yeah, that moment when she finally can touch someone and still have her abilities, the joy and elation you feel for her, it shows not just great character growth, but great writing as well, to where we can finally move past the point to where you can control your mutant abilities, even if they are this dangerous. So this would have been a yes as well.
But yeah, for me, I'm contractually obliged to say yes to Rogue, otherwise we kicked out of New Zealand. But I would have said yes anyway. I like Rogue as a character, and I know we probably would have been hard to get a comic accurate Rogue in the X-Men movies just because they didn't have access to Captain Marvel. I think now I really hope we get a comic accurate version of Rogue. So but with that, we've only got 2 spots left. Kevin, what's your next spot?
This is tough. I'm gonna go with another one of my favorites from the animated series, and also from the movies, portrayed by Kelsey Grammer and Nicholas Hoult. He is Beast. Hank McCoy. He genius level intellect. Obviously, the large hands and feet. Human strength, speed, agility, durability, balance, senses, reflexes, endurance, coordination, and the sharp claws and teeth. He's been in so many of the stories, and I love I always loved it when I was growing up because I kind of felt like a sense of connection here with this guy because I was kind of always bigger than everybody in school growing up. And I'm not going to say I was hairier than everybody. That's weird. But just I was, I'm 6'4", so I was always like taller than everybody and heavier than everybody. So I felt kind of like a beast in myself. And I was also in like the smart kid classes and stuff. So Beast just kind of relates to me on a personal level, I guess I should say. So I'm throwing it out there, Hank McCoy.
Tony, what do you say about Beast?
Beast was from the '90s cartoon was probably my second favorite. He's certainly a strong character. He become like they showed in the movies and the comics. He gets the blue fur from experimenting on himself due to the self-conscious feeling, and he's a character who he was actually the first X-Man to actually join up with the Avengers and had a pretty lengthy stay with the Avengers. One of the downsides for Beast is in the comics, he became just kind of like the guy in the lab and kind of wasn't used right for quite a while, up until I'd say about Joss Whedon's run on X-Men. But having said that, though, I'll say yes to Beast.
Ryan, what do you say about Beast?
All right, this one is definitely a tough choice. I like with Beast the analogy that with Beast he's kind of like the idea of the path not taken, or your actions have consequences. To where Beast, even though he had the large hands and feet, he mainly had the physical appearance of a normal person. I even like how in X-Men First Class you see with Nicholas Holt's character that even though objectively from someone else you still look normal, but because you've lived with this deformity or this mutation for your life, it does affect your confidence to where you can't recover from. And unfortunately, your actions and attempts to make things better makes things worse, and you have to live with it for the rest of your life. I like that storyline. But like what Tony said, once you move past that, it's not that he becomes just a guy in the lab, but he normally almost becomes one note a bit. Like he's there helping them solve scientifically. Now, it does help writers out of a corner when it comes to solving problems, but if your main solution is just to go to the guy in the lab or the guy in the white coat, it's not going to help you develop better story arcs or better character work. Maybe for, I don't know, depending on how long comic series run, but getting over my tangent, I guess for me, the origin is good, but I do need more from him, so this is going to be a slight no.
This for me, this is an easy no. I like Beast in the movies, but he's there's a few characters that aren't on here which I think should be here over Beast. So I think we've got 2 yeses, 2 nos. Tony, what'd you say
That's
about
correct.
Beast?
Yeah, I had
Tony
no,
said yeah.
So. Oh wait, no, I
no,
said
you
yes.
said no?
Sorry, I said yes. Sorry, don't mind me.
It's all good. So, Richard, does Beast make the list?
So disrespectful you say that Beast was only a lab guy, where he wasn't. He was probably smart. He's one of the smartest men in the X-Men franchise, probably even smarter than Professor X. In the comics, when he gets mutated even more, he gets more of that primal instinct. He has learned to control his aggression, and that was such a good storyline for him. And I really like Beast. It's a yes for me.
With that, Beast makes the list, and which means Tony, we've got 1 spot left. Can you fill up that last spot?
Well, we'll see. in coming up with my own list, I was trying to get a kind of as much of a cross section as I could. So this one I just wanted to throw out, and maybe it's a no, we'll see. But as a newer character created within the past, 15 to 20 years or so, I'm throwing X-23 out there, Laura Kinney. She started out in the X-Men Evolution comic or cartoon, moved to the comics, and frankly has a backstory that makes Wolverine seem upbeat. Being cloned from Wolverine and just from birth being trained as an assassin, in the comics there was a trigger scent that they would kind of splash on the targets, and she just could not control it, and to the point where she killed her adopted mother, but ended up growing into her own character beyond just the Wolverine clone. And like I said, might be a yes or no, and was portrayed excellently by Daphne Keenan Logan. But yeah, X-23.
Ryan, what do you say about X-23? I think Ryan might be frozen.
You broke Ryan.
Hello.
No,
There he is.
There he
We
is.
can hear you now.
Can you hear me?
So what do you?
Yeah, I don't think I'm broken.
we get-
It's just like internet likes to break.
But what do you say about X-23?
Yeah, that's a tough choice. Man, yeah, her backstory as well. I mean, not just what Tony said with her backstory. I got to read, or at least listen to a video breakdown of her comic origin, how she had to break free from the organization controlling her, to her complicated relationship with Wolverine, to the legacy in handling the Wolverine mantle. It's a lot. I have to say no, unfortunately. I think there's a character I think that should be on this list. If this was 15, I would say if we were listing 15 characters, I'd put Laura down, but we're doing 12, so I have to say no.
Yeah, I mean, I like X-23. Like, as I said, I really enjoy Evolution, and I really like the art that X-23 has in it. But I also have to say no, just because there's one that I think should be on this list that hasn't come up yet. So, Richard, what do you say about X-23?
It's also a no for me. I just don't know enough about her other than Logan and X-Men Evolution. I think she's just too much of a new character right now to say yes to, whereas her character is still growing in the comics. So right now it's a no.
Kevin, what would you have said about X-23?
Yeah, I actually feel exactly the same way. I would love to give her the vote, but being the last one, and I've only read Innocence Lost, I really would like to see more out of her before I give her that vote. So, unfortunately, it would be a no for me.
Wow!
So-
How dare you all?
Yeah, we're a bunch of hard asses.
Maybe when she becomes X-24, then we'll say yes.
But anyway, Ryan, it's on you. What is the next one you're going to bring up?
Well, my next person, this character was also the third person I was going to nominate, but here, this is all going to say enough. Her storyline has been botched completely. Jean Grey. That's who I'm nominating. I'm nominating Jean Grey, not because of just her Dark Phoenix storyline, but because from her introduction in the original X-Men as someone who was self-conscious about her abilities, who had to grow. I remember reading the first 50 issues of X-Men when she was involved there. I watched her grow throughout those, and then jumped to Giant Size to where she's developed more in her abilities, and then came the Dark Phoenix storyline. So I had an emotional attachment to her, and then seeing what the Hellfire Club did to break her down, to strip away almost her identity, to turn her into the powerful Dark Phoenix, and then that Dark Phoenix arc. And then afterwards, even I think she had some more interesting storylines afterwards, learning that she's an Omega level mutant. Her complicated relationship with Scott Summers and Wolverine, and the fact that Sinister, obsessed with the Summers bloodline, cloned her for Madeline Pryor, who became the mother of Cable. Seeing the fact that Jean Grey has she's kind of like, I won't say abused, but she's really gone through the ringer in the X-Men comics. And even now, when they brought her back and she was one character who actually stayed dead throughout the majority of the 2000s to 2010s until she was brought back again. So I'd say, for me, I want Jean Grey to have her time in the sun, and I think that time should be on this list, so I'm nominating her.
Yeah, this is the one that I was thinking about. Then this was going to be the next one I brought up had Ryan not brought it up. But yeah, like this is one that, like when I said that Magneto was the second best villain, Jean Grey's arc as Dark Phoenix, I think, is the best villain in the X-Men universe. While she wasn't a full-time villain, I think she's still the best villain in a sense. But yeah, Jean Grey's great. I like her as the Dark Phoenix specifically, but it's one of those ones that so many of these characters have already had multiple different versions anyway. It's going to be hard to, if we're going to specify specific versions, we'll be here all day. So Jean Grey is a yes for me. Richard, what do you say about Jean Grey?
I mean, the Dark Phoenix saga was the only good thing about her. Like, she's so boring, but she's super powerful. She's such an important role in the X-Men. I want to say no, but I really can't, so I'll say yes, but she's such a boring character. Oh my god. She's perfect for Cyclops. Wow.
Kevin, what would you have said about Jean Grey?
I like the I like the storyline with her and Scott. I like the love triangle with Angel having the affection for her, the role she played in Mastermind's plot, and then even what they tried to do on the big screen with the Dabari. Phoenix or Jean Grey would have been on my list. So I'm going to say yes.
We lost Ryan.
And we lost Ryan.
Tony, what would you have said about Jean Grey?
Yeah, I figured Jean was going to make this list. That's part of the reason why I was like, I'll throw X-23 out and just to give her a little chance to be talked about. But yeah, Jean's an easy yes to me. That's a character who, even when she was dead in the comics for 15 years, still drove storylines.
No.
And the Dark Phoenix saga might be the best superhero storyline ever written. So, yeah, I would have said yes to Jean. So,
yeah, and I mean, I really hope if the MCU decide to do the Dark Phoenix saga, they don't try to do it as one movie. It's supposed to be a multiple arc thing.
Yeah.
But
just do a live action version of the 90s cartoon. They literally did it perfectly.
Or do like what we have with WandaVision. Give us a one, maybe two. Just give us a 1 season short series and build your Dark Phoenix arc from there.
It was Cyclops all along.
Exactly.
But for me, some other ones I had on my list as honorable mentions. I had Havoc, Colossus, Cable, Juggernaut. I actually do like. I would have brought up at some stage. Sabretooth, I'm surprised wasn't ever brought up. But Richard, did you have any honorable mentions?
Yeah, well, other than the ones you mentioned, I had Moira McTaggart, the non-ex-mutant person on the X-Men. I had Morph and Mr. Sinister, and I also didn't think this would count, but I had the Sentinels.
I mean,
the Sentinels in a hole.
I mean, I would have counted them, but But Kevin, did you have any honorable mentions?
I did. I had Emma Frost, Magic, Colossus, Psylocke, and I was going to bring up Cable as well.
Tony, did you have any honorable mentions?
I had about 35, so I'll try and kind of whittle it down. I also agreed in terms of like Sentinels, just in general. Apocalypse, Blink from the Age of Apocalypse was a great character. Cypher, Danger, Gladiator, the Shi'ar, Mr. Sinister, Nimrod, but almost put Moira McTaggart on the list purely because of the House of X, Powers of 10 storyline, which made her maybe one of the most important characters in all of the X-Men line. So,
and mine, did you have any honorable mentions?
Well, similar to most everyone, I also had Moira McTaggart because the Powers and House of 10, the retconned her character made the X-Men universe that much more in depth and much more interesting through the lives of Moira McTaggart. I also had Cable as well. I also thought of Bishop because introduced in the 90s, mutant who from the future travels in the past, tries to change things. I also had Apocalypse. I had Mr. Sinister. I also would have put down Destiny, even though she's a very comics-related character. But the fact of a mutant who can see the future almost to the point to where she can see multiple futures, alternate timelines in a way was very interesting. And also, he now confirms a gay relationship she has with Mystique. And then I also would have thought of maybe the Hellfire Club. Not just the individual members, but the Hellfire Club in general. Because like the Sentinels, they're more dangerous when it's the Union instead of them individually.
Yeah.
And no one had Iceman or Jubilee.
Yes, Iceman too. I forgot about Iceman.
actually, I did have Iceman as well. Also, Forge and Cannonball were.
I thought of Forge as well, but I thought with Laura, he may be a little too new to people.
But with that being said, just to recap the characters we have in the top 12, we've got Wolverine, Cyclops, Magneto, Storm, Shadowcat, Nightcrawler, Professor X, Mystique, Deadpool, Rogue, Beast, and Jean Grey. But how we go about ranking these is we're going to write down who we want at 12 on a whiteboard or bit of paper, whatever we have handy beside us. And whatever has the most votes is 12, then we go on to 11 and so on. But Richard, what do you have for 12?
Kitty Pryde, Shadowcat.
Kevin, what do you have for 12?
Kitty Pryde.
Tony.
Deadpool.
Ryan.
Yeah, I also had Shadowcat.
I had Beast. Now we move on to 11. Yes. Also, one thing I was mentioning, whoever I can't remember whoever brought up Professor X, but when you started saying he's the X-Man, I thought you were literally going to go X-Man with Nate Gray.
As soon as I said that, I was like, oh man, they might be thinking I'm thinking actual X-Man.
I know.
No, I knew the difference. That's why that's why I did that little long tangent with Xavier to have the difference between the two.
But Richard, what do you have for 11?
Cyclops.
Kevin, what do you have for 11?
Beast.
Tony, what do you have for 11?
Deadpool.
Ryan.
Deadpool.
I'm going to go Beast. So, Richard, Beast or Deadpool at 11?
Deadpool. I like Beast.
Yep. Let me see. Let's see. Now it definitely is going to get difficult.
Alright. But Kevin, who do you have for 10?
I stuck with Beast.
Tony,
It's a Mystique.
Ryan,
I went Beast.
and Beast, and Richard.
Cyclops.
Yeah. Okay. Let's see what else we got.
Tony, what do you have at 9?
Mystique.
Ryan,
I changed my answer. This is going to be a shocker. I put Magneto.
I put Cyclops. Richard,
The Summer of Scott. Cyclops.
Oh!
Ryan, Mystique or Cyclops?
Okay, I really wanted to wait to make a decision on either of these two, but I guess not. Cyclops.
Oh!
Ouch.
He's so boring.
Oh,
I'm just saying, comics run, Mystique has the more in-depth
Mm.
comic run than comic stories than compared to Cyclops. Even though they're both at equal level, just Mystique. It's just god, like it's really cool. I wanted to wait until 7 to start talking about them, but that's my preference.
Hey, it is what it is.
True that.
Ryan, who do you have at 8?
I'm staying with what I changed it to, Magneto.
I've got a bit of a hot take myself. I got Professor X. Richard,
I went Mystique.
Kevin,
Mystique.
Of course.
Mystique.
Yeah.
I've sticking with Professor X for 7. Richard,
I also went Professor X.
Kevin,
Same, Professor X.
Tony,
I said Jean Grey.
Ryan,
Nito.
Professor X is going to be 7.
So now this is getting hard.
That's what she said.
Well,
Ooh,
now whoever is dating Professor X.
Nope.
Ooh.
Oh.
Ouch.
Right, Richard, what do you have for 6?
I went Jean Grey.
Kevin,
Went Nightcrawler.
Tony,
I did Jean Grey.
Ryan.
I'm still staying with Magneto.
It is going to be Jean Grey because I went Rogue.
Oh, Oh, damn it. I mean, she's on the list, which is good.
Just to recap who we've got left: Wolverine, Magneto, Nightcrawler, and
Storm.
and Rogue.
Yeah.
There's left. Kevin, who do you have for 5?
Nightcrawler.
Tony,
Rogue.
Ryan.
I didn't change. Magneto.
I also didn't change. I went Rogue.
Well, it's gonna be another tie. I said Nightcrawler.
Great. Oh, great.
Right. So Professor X. No, Rogue or Nightcrawler.
Rogue and Nightcrawler. God damn it. Both make. This is Mystique's choice. Oh. Oh, if anyone got that.
Who does she love more?
Yeah. Okay, wait. I gotta go Rosa Diaz in this. Rosa Diaz. Oh, I'll do what Rosa said in Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Pick the daughter, Rogue.
All right.
I've got to do this. Tony, who do you have for 4?
Now we're getting into hot take land. Wolverine.
Ryan.
I still have not changed. Magneto.
I also went Magneto. Richard.
I went Magneto to save Nightcrawler.
You sacrificed Magneto. Great job. All right.
Okay. Sometimes you have to sacrifice the king to keep a bishop on the board.
This is true.
No,
I'm not
Bishop
sure that's
isn't-
how
Bishop-
chess works.
Oh no, that's right. I'm sorry.
I think it's the other way around.
Yeah.
No, that's not true because Bishop wasn't mentioned this game.
Right.
My analogy failed. Oh, this is when you don't play chess during the quarantine.
But Ryan, what do you have for 3?
Nightcrawler.
I went Storm. Richard.
I also went Storm.
Yeah.
Kevin.
Nightcrawler.
Tony.
Wolverine.
So you have to decide Nightcrawler or Storm.
Who's going?
Yeah.
Who's number 3?
Who's number 3?
Who's number 3? Nightcrawler.
All right. Finally. So we put our number 1, right?
Yeah.
Yep. We go straight to number 1. Just because it's more anticlimactic that way.
Gotcha.
Okay.
Although in saying that, with the 2 that are left, it's going to be anticlimactic, whichever either way we go.
Yeah, I was thinking that too, but it's all right.
Sure.
I don't know anymore.
Yeah, I was gonna say, given some of these, you never know.
Kevin, who's your number 1?
Wolverine.
Tony.
Storm.
Ryan.
Well, you ain't alone on this one, Tony. Storm.
I've got Wolverine. Richard.
Wolverine.
Yeah. That was a losing battle. As soon as I was like, yeah, no one's voting against Wolverine.
I kept my mouth shut, so I would not bring up the fact that Storm had not been touched on.
I was leaving Storm on there as long as possible, but
Because her and Wolverine, they both have great crossover appeal, not just for
Yeah,
Storm
they
into
do.
Black Panther, but she can also cross over into other comics as well. I mean, just like with Stardew, yeah.
Yep.
I mean, just like with Kitty Pryde, how she crossed over with the Guardians, I've also seen Storm has the potential to cross over with so many other Marvel comic characters.
Yeah. I mean, imagine the chaos when I put the poll if Wolverine didn't actually make our top 12 list at all.
I know. Actually, that
Jeez.
would have been very fun. We hold off Wolverine until we get to the last slide, but then it's like
Yeah,
that would have been that would have been a real Illuminati between the five of us.
But that being said, just to recap the top 12 X-Men characters, at 12 got Shadowcat, at 11 we got Deadpool, at 10 we got Beast, at 9 we got Cyclops, at 8 we got Mystique, at 7 we got Professor X, at 6 we got Jean Grey, at 5 we've got Rogue, at 4 we've got Magneto, at 3 we got Nightcrawler, at 2 we got Storm, and number 1 is Wolverine. Now I'll have a poll for next week's episode up on Tape 3 page in a bit. But before that, Richard, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Facebook under Richard Schwartz, YouTube, Twitter under External Void. You can find me in the fan leagues because I'm everywhere.
Kevin, where can people find you online?
Go ahead and check me out on TMG Trivia. That is, I am the commissioner of TM Geek, and we do fun things over at TMG Trivia. So like and share and subscribe and do all the things on our YouTube and Facebook page. We're almost over 100 people, so I'd appreciate it.
Tony, where can people find you online?
I have a Facebook page. Yay. But I also do, some of the fan leagues, so you can see me there too. So,
Ryan, where can people find you online?
Well, people can definitely also find me along TMG as well. I do whenever I can occasionally help out with the fellow commissioner Kevin Boss and also some of the guys there when it comes to a few other leagues. I am so far their longest reigning singles champion. So I'm hoping we get more people there so I can defend my championship. But other than that, you guys can find me on the Schmoes of the North channel for my show Mount Schmodown. We do career retrospective breakdowns of Schmodown players from the movie Trivia Schmodown. Just today, my co-host and I, we talked about the now retired Mark Andraco and his career. And if you check our previous episodes, we've done some great breakdowns and even discussed with a few personalities. We did an episode where we talked to Brendan Meyer about his career, and we did one where we talked with Kaiser about Kevin Smets, Smash Cancer, or should I say Cancer Smashed. And then finally, also, if anybody out there are fans of wrestling, I have a wrestling podcast that I co-host with the current competitor of the First Class League, that is the Sinister James Shimo. It is called Wrestling Rambles and Rages Podcast. It is available on Spotify, Apple, and Anchor. Right now we are taking a break, but you can check out all of our previous episodes, our breakdowns of weekly wrestling shows and pay-per-views, just to get our rambles and see how passionate we are about wrestling.
But yeah, you can find me on Tape 3 Productions, where I host Rankum every Saturday, and every now and then we do a late night Tape 3 on Sundays. It's not going to do one tomorrow, but we'll probably have one done next week. And you can also find me over on Full Metal. I host Full Metal Classic on Sundays. My Sundays is really busy, apparently. And also Full Metal Random. Earlier today, you would have seen the wrestling match. Coming up on Tuesday, we've got the Team 4-Star Random match featuring Jay Burns, Mark Kamaya, Alex Gofffather, David Garcia, and one other person who I can't remember off by heart. Tim Smith. I don't know how he would. I don't know why I forgot him, but never mind.
Take that.
I apologize to Tim, but with that, until next time, keep listening shit.
Don't you know who I am? I'm the Juggernaut, bitch!